Well, hello and welcome to Lessons from the Sidelines. And today is, well, every broadcast is special, but this one maybe just a little bit more. Because now we have the man that has put it all together, the Harbaugh Coaching Academy, and the one that was all built for. We have John Harbaugh with us today, the new coach of the New York Football Giants, and my father-in-law, Jim and John, and Joni's father, Jack Harbaugh, with us. And it is an absolute honor to be with you guys on this, and we're going to have a great time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it. Right, Dad? We're fired up.
Who's got it better than us?
I know the
Nobody.
answer to that one.
Let's go right to this. Okay, we're a little over 2 weeks, John, with you taking over this Giants job. And the first question I want to ask is if somebody said to you, which I'm going to, what's it like to be the coach of the New York Giants? What are the first things that come to your mind?
Well, I got a picture of Lawrence Taylor over here, and I got a picture of Frank Gifford over here. So there's a whole lot of history, a whole lot of tradition here. I do know that. And then it's fun and exciting. It's a big place. I mean, it's a big driving in every morning. It's dark, but you got that New York skyline. I'm coming from west to east, so coming right at the skyline into East Rutherford, where the facility is. That's pretty cool. But once you walk in the office, man, it's the same. It's football. It's a football facility, football players, weightlifting, training. We're trying to hire staff. It's been crazy with the phone calls and the Zoom interviews and the in-person interviews and all the different things that go with it. Teams not letting guys talk to you or letting guys talk to you. It seems so much simpler when you say I'm gonna put a staff together, but then reality strikes. But we're having a lot of success, and that's what we're in the middle of right now.
Absolutely. I mean, and I know you've been so busy with this. And 18 years in one place, an absolute Mount Rushmore of culture building, what you did there in the NFL. There's no doubt about that. I'm not the only one on this podcast that would believe that, or the people that are listening to that would believe this. But you go into a new environment, a program that has had tremendous success over decades, maybe not as much lately, but still has it's a pinnacle. It's a pinnacle name. I mean, it's a pinnacle job. What surprised you? Is there anything that has surprised you walking in there in the first 2.5+ weeks that you're like, man, I had no idea?
Such a great question. And the answer is nothing surprising, except for the fact that it's pretty obvious that it's a fine line. Success, quote unquote, failure in the National Football League, probably like anything, it's all in the margins. And so much of the foundation for success is here because of the organization. The organization is so good. The Maras and the Tisches do a great job. The Kochs now have been added in, but John Mara's been running point in the organization for many, many years. The organization goes back with the Mara family to 1925, so they have it's not just a tradition. This is a DNA that's built into the organization. It's a family organization. You really sense that when you come in the building. So many people, it means so much to. They care so much about the New York Football Giants. It matters, and that to me is the foundation that you want. That care, a lot of trust in the building. People trust one another. They want each other to do well. So then you got to say, all right, well, what has it been? What needs to be accomplished, and what are we trying to build? More than anything, I just think there's a real enthusiasm, especially amongst the players, a real enthusiasm to get to work, and to build something like you were talking about that I think
Sure.
stands on the great tradition of the Giants. It's built on that. It's built on the self-evident football truths that we all believe in, and we know are right. Build on those things, make those things paramount to what we're doing, and embrace the people that are here and the great players that are here. And let's go get as good as we can get.
Before I pull Coach Jack in, let me ask you this, because everybody goes through this. Anybody that's ever changed jobs, whether they wanted to or not, it is such a whirlwind, and your whirlwind is unbelievable, which we'll get into. It's just been incredible since midnight of the Baltimore-Pittsburgh last regular season game. And how have you gotten through those moments where you really don't get to catch a breath? Everything is happening so fast. It was fully reported from the time of the change at Baltimore. Every team that had an opening in the NFL had called your agent Brian Harlan, and it just went into a tsunami cycle. How have you dealt with the change and the stress that comes like when you're by yourself, when you're driving in your truck, or when you're sitting in your office and you say, man, like this is all different now? Like, how have you dealt with that? I think that's great for people to
That's a
hear
really
that.
great question. Boy, I tell you, it'd be nice to have a packaged up answer for you, but it's not packaged up. As a
Sure.
matter of fact, it's anything but packaged up. It's almost like it's like the marbles break out and they go everywhere. You know, they're rolling on the floor and they're spread around everywhere, and you just look at them and you go, oh man. Matter of fact, it's I was actually home this past weekend, and we're getting the house ready to move. So we got a basement. It's like an old cellar basement, and Ingrid had a bunch of stuff in the basement. So I loaded all these vases and things that were kind of given away to Goodwill in a box, and of course I didn't tape the bottom of the box quite as securely as you would have hoped. And as I carried them up the steps, Dad, this is a typical Harbaugh thing, Dad. The bottom of the box just broke, and they all crashed down the steps, shattered glass everywhere. I still got cuts on my fingers from picking them up. It's like, well, I just thought to myself, well, isn't that just about right? That's just about the way this whole thing. That that's the metaphor. That's the metaphor right there.
No
You know.
question. That's why I asked the question, because and anybody that's gone through it understands exactly where you're coming from. Because and you were very fortunate, but at the same time, then it hits you at some point like, wait a minute. This happened in Baltimore. I'm doing all this. It's like this is a change. Like you were very fortunate because you went straight to. And we had a lot of messages, but my biggest message to you through all of this, and I'll stand on it forever. When this all happened in Baltimore, you were absolutely on top of your game. I mean, as a coach, as a leader, with awareness, understanding who was telling you the truth, who wasn't telling you the truth, who was with you, who wasn't with you. I mean, you were on top of your game, and so that's a rarity. But what for anybody that's going through this, but when you make that change, it's still hard to do. And I think that's why I want to turn this into interactive now. So, Coach Harbaugh, we go through this, okay, and this happens with John, and you have your first. I know there were texts, but then you have your first phone call with John after this happens in Baltimore. We're going to hit some other phone calls, but what was that like? Take us through what that's like as a father speaking to his son that also is one of the most high-profile leaders in the country.
Well, the first thing was we had several conversations those 2 days that they were going through this different process, and there was a moment when John would be leaving, and then he was coming back, and then he was leaving, and the final conversation that we had, it was in my good. Good. You're in a position now to refocus and find that place. And I think in that same conversation, the New York Giants football program came into being about maybe being the best possible job out there. So that's the conversation we had. There was no second guessing. Good. We're moving on and we're in a better place.
Let me ask you this, because outside of you singing the Bowling Green fight song at the press conference and getting interviewed by so many people, it has been brought up that you had told John that I'm paraphrasing, that he'd be crazy not to take the Giants, or that was the best job.
What happened when he mentioned the Giants as being a possibility and that the conversations began, I picked up I got some tape. I looked at some film. The film I looked at was the Los Angeles Chargers when they played the Giants in the fifth game of the season, and I started watching that tape and I saw so many good things about this team and how they played that game. And I think the Chargers might have been undefeated at the time, and the Giants rose up.
Why'd you pick the Chargers game? Why the Chargers game of
Well,
all
that's the only
games?
tape I had at the time. I had access to their library, so I was able to tap into that and watch that game and quarterback play and the tailback play and the two tight ends play and the coordination that they had on the offense and the defense in that football game. I said, "Wow, this team has got some real potential, and with some additions, and this could be the new whatever new is new. This could be it. So that was what got me fired up about the Giants job.
When you go through this, John, and you're making those changes, how do you prioritize? Because there's so much going on. And obviously, you go into a place like the New York metropolitan area here now where as much attention locally and nationally as you had in Baltimore, it's just going to be so much more. How do you get your priorities straight, catch your breath, so to speak? And what are the first things you got to make sure that you've got to do when you take over a job like this, when there's so many people that want to talk about this or introduce themselves or have you meet this person? How do you keep those
Yeah,
priorities
that's a great
straight?
question. Such a great question. And the only answer I can give you is you kind of got to work across all fronts. There are certain things that you just can't dig into. I probably have had, it has to be 2,500 texts, and I can't get it under 500. Like as hard as I try, I can't get the number under 500. It's still sitting in the 570 range right now. So the people that texted me like right after Baltimore happened, or in that time frame, I'm sorry. I'm going to get back to you. I promise. So that's you can't really go there because you really got to move forward. I mean, you got to start digging in. So to me, the priority is the moment. Like you got to have a picture of what you want to do. Get good help. I have Megan Rosberg here. She's my assistant. She does an amazing job of kind of organizing things and getting us squared away. As we started adding coaches, they tack on some of the tasks and things like that. But really, it's like, okay, I'm working on this now, and really, I got to have to give this my full attention. Like, if you're doing an interview with a coach, and that's an hour and a half, 2 hour interview, you've got to give it full attention. You can't really be multitasking. I don't think the multitasking thing really works too well in this sense. You got to be able to kind of in your mind categorize where you want to go next or what you've got to get to, and then try to keep it organized. And I would say, so being in the moment, Tom. Then the other thing is doing the best possible job besides being organized with a process, and in this case, mainly hiring coaches. But also got to talk to players. I want to talk to these players. I still haven't got a chance to talk to all the players, talk to those guys. But be very intentional about the people. So the moment and the people. Focus on the moment, what you're doing. Try to have it built on a foundation or an umbrella of being organized and all the things that have to be done in what order, sort of. But also make sure that you take care of the people and make sure that people are taken care of and you give them your full attention. I would say that's how it is.
That's a great point. As a leader, your job is to bring energy to people, right? But you've got to get energy from others. What kind of energy have those conversations with the players
Yeah,
brought you?
they've been great. I mean, they're full of energy. I ask them what they think, what we need, and I like what they're saying. Maybe they already know that we're going to work really hard at football because they keep telling me. They all say we want to work really hard at football. Maybe they already love football because they're telling me they love football, and I'm looking for that. I'm looking for guys that think the way we think, guys that want to build the kind of team that we want to build. That's who I want to align myself with. High energy, high effort, high care factor people, highly motivated individuals. And that's what I'm finding amongst these guys. I mean, every single guy I talk to is bringing that kind of juice to the conversation.
Um, when you look at Jack, you fly in, you have that whirlwind day, you get picked up at 8, you're home by 8 o'clock that night, but in the midst of those 12 hours, you're in New York watching John get introduced as the Giants head coach. And so you're obviously you're busy. You and Jackie are busy because people want to talk to you, but you're also getting to sit back and watch it from a different view. I don't want to say a 1,000-foot view, maybe a 50-foot view. What was that like? Watching how people interacted with John and with Ingrid, knowing that Allison's his daughter, how did that feel watching that day in New York?
And that was one of those moments that you always treasure to be there. And perhaps the highlight for Jackie and myself that day was about an hour before the press conference was to start. We were in John's office, and the Merrill family and the Tisch family were there, and the room was totally full. And there were grandparents and parents and youngsters and grandchildren. The room was full, and the enthusiasm, the smiles, and we had a chance to meet the family, and it just reminded us of what our family has been all about. And a story that jumped in my mind as we were flying back to to Ann Arbor here. When we were young kids in Crestline, Ohio, there was a Hamilton Park. And every summer we had a family picnic. Everybody was there. The grandparents were there. The parents were there. The kids were there. The grandparents would be sitting on chairs watching the kids run around. The parents would be cooking the food. The kids were climbing rocks and playing ball and playing catch. And it was like 8 hours of just a moment when you're all together in the family. And I crossed my heart. Here I am. I'm crossing my heart and raising my hand as I stood in that room with the family of the Maras and the Tishes. I had that same feeling we had back in those days in Crestline when our family was getting together like that.
That is great. When you looked at the film, okay, and you're talking about watching the game, what stood out to you that fits John so well about the roster? Obviously, the roster will change as he builds his team for next season. But what stood out to you about like just the aura of the players, the way that they played, physicality? What stood out to you that you
The
shared with
talent
John?
level of the players. The quarterback, I looked at him, and that was, I think, the first game that he ever started. That was the beginning of his career at the Giants, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he rushed for 2 touchdowns running the ball. He might have thrown another one, and he was moving around, and he was so poised, and the game wasn't coming at him at a difficult poise. He was able to handle it too. And the big running back. I mean, you talk about a downhill. Get out of my way, here I come. If you don't get out of my way, I'm going to move you around a little bit. He brought that to the game, and the tight ends catching the ball and being able to block, the coordination in the offensive line. I just saw so many good things. On defense, they had people coming from the outside, some outside edge rushers with putting pressure. Played very well on defense, and I know that was maybe the highlight game of the season for them, but that's the one that I happened to watch for the first time, and everything I saw that was positive and what great potential that it had.
You know, everybody talks about the potential of Jackson Dart and what he can be. John, what's he got to be by the time you kick it off in the first regular season game of the year? Because coaches look at this, coaches have a vision, but coaches have to deal with the reality of how it gets better every day because they're responsible. They're accountable. The coach is accountable. So no matter what they are right now, you are accountable to getting them where they need to be. What do you need to see for him to kick off the season in this short term, as it's not that far away, obviously, for him to be what he needs to be?
Right. Well, all the coaches are watching this. You know, the coaches that are watching this understand that you got to get your team right. You got to get your team ready. In the case of the quarterback, Jackson, it's the offense. You know, that offense has got to be tied together. It's got to be operating at a high level. You know, game one out of the gates. You know, we need day one of the first OTA. We need to come out of there at a high level. I can't wait to see where we're at, but everything we do has got to be so intentional toward building how we're going to perform. And the quarterback is the driver of that. I mean, the quarterback is the leader of that. The quarterback is in front and you know, he's right there with your coordinator and your coaches, your leaders, but mainly your quarterback. He's pulling everybody along with him. So he's going to have to get in here early and often, get with the offensive coordinator, get with the quarterback coach, the offensive line coach, and start understanding the way the offense is going to be built, contributing to it, helping build it, of course, and then mastering it, so that when those guys come in, he's like an installer too. You know, he's teaching the guys. And then as you go, you know, you build those reps in as you go to try to get really efficient at executing all aspects of the offense. And that it's an ongoing process. I mean, it goes from the start of OTAs, first game, all the way through the season to the end. I mean, that's always they're always chasing perfection. But that's he's got to be the driver of that. And then with that, Tom goes also his mechanics, his technique. He's second year guy. All the things he's got to improve and grow. You know, he's got to be really self-aware of all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot on the quarterback's plate for sure.
Absolutely. And we'll get into your staffing, but let's start with who you've recently hired in Matt Nagy, who is coming from the Kansas City Chiefs, head coach of the Chicago Bears, outstanding offensive coordinator, outstanding play caller when he was in Chicago, obviously. What's the advice? Because again, most people are going to see the big picture, right? They're going to see, okay, what's going to happen during the season? What advice or expectations do you have for a guy coming in like Matt Nagy to establish that with Jackson Dart, the quarterback room, which then trickles down into the entire offense?
Well, yeah, I mean, the first thing is the relationship. That's already begun. Those guys have they've met each other, they knew each other through the draft process and all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of surface. So now they got to dig in and really dig in for that football relationship, which leads to the personal relationship, which means that the coordinator and the quarterback have to be tied together as one in leading the offense into the game. So that relationship's going to be just massive. That's my advice: is push together. And that'll be my job too, to push those two guys together, be a part of that, encouraging that as well. But those guys have to be like of one mind, especially the play caller and the quarterback on game day need to be thinking alike. I mean, as soon as the play caller might start the play call, quarterback should already know exactly what play it is, because he's so in tune to the game plan and what's going to come up situationally, his expectations. So yeah, that's it, man. Come together, those two guys.
When you were going through this process and everyone assumed that Todd Monken was going to come with you, what people lose sight of is you've done this for a lot of years. There's no way you put everything into one person, knowing that he was obviously a candidate for other jobs, especially the one he got with Cleveland. What was the process like for you in getting to, because obviously you knew ahead of time that Todd was going to get the job, but you were already working on other people. What sold you on Matt Nagy to be the guy that you're entrusting this offense and the development of these guys with?
Well, I mean, numerous things through the process that became evident to me. And it was really, I just feel like you know it when you see it. And just having a sense of what the fit's going to be in terms of what I want to see as far as my vision for how our team is going to play football, just self-evident truth of football-wise, plus the players that we have, plus the defense we're going to build, special teams we're going to build. And the challenges we're going to face this year. So it's like in my mind, I'm like, I have a sense of what I want that offense to be and what's going to be required. So when you ask the questions and you talk to the coordinators in terms of what their vision is, how closely are they aligned to that coming in? How able are they going to be, in my mind, to be able to create that same vision in the minds of the players, and also be aligned in terms of the types of players and the style of football and everything that we want to play. So you don't know. I mean, didn't go in with any preconceived notions. I mean, I've known Matt. I've known all those guys most all those guys to one degree or another. There were a few guys I hadn't met. And there's a lot of great coaches, man. There's so many good coaches in the National Football League, and you talk to them, and you learn a lot too. I mean, there's a lot of brain picking going on there. So it was a chance to really to just see how people do certain things and all that. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, when we got through those interviews and I got to Matt and other guys too. There were guys I was like, hey, he could be it, he could be it, he could be it, he could be it. But Matt was the best it at this time, and so it made it an easy decision in the end.
What I like about what you've done, and I'm going to ask you a question on this here in a second, Coach Harbaugh, to follow up on this. But what I like what you've done is you have hired thus far. Okay, so we have Matt Nagy as your offensive coordinator. Denard Wilson is your defensive coordinator who you've worked with. Chris Horton is your special teams coach who you've had for years. You've also hired other people, not only that you worked with in Baltimore, but people that you had a relationship with. What I like about what you do, because what people forget, at the end of the day, right, no matter what level it is, the head coach is the one that is most responsible for everything, but is accountable for the wins and losses. So you don't just leave the hiring up to your coordinator. Certainly you want their input, and you want people that are going to be like-minded. They don't have to be like each other, but they want to be like-minded. But what you do is you go out and get people that are like-minded to you, because you know at the end of the day what you want it to look like. As you've put this staff together with the Willie Taggarts and people like that, what were the common denominators of, maybe from a football sense or a character sense, that you looked at and said, I want that around me every day. I want that around our players every day, and I know we can win with these people?
Well, I mean, competence and character, and then shared understanding. I would say those three things. They got to be great. They got to be great coaches, great teachers. I got to see it, man. I got to see talent. I got to see a guy that can express himself, teach, is willing to be demanding, but can build relationships. And then character, what is character? Yeah, you need high standard people, high expectation people that are going to do the right thing. People are going to lead where they're going to go. So I want to know where these guys are going to go. I want to know where they're going to go. You know, basically, I want to know where they're going to go on the way home from work. I want to know where they're going to go on the way in. I want to know where they're going to go during the day, how they're going to treat people, because that's where they're going to lead their position group and their team. Our team, they're going to lead. They're going to lead those people wherever they're going. And then shared vision. How do you see the game? I mean, I know what I want it to look like. There's no doubt in my mind what I want it to look like in every position, every player, how it's tied together, game management, all of it. You don't achieve perfection every day of every week, but I think you can. I think you. People say, well, you can't be perfect. I'm like, well, is that true? Can you be perfect? I mean, have you ever had like the perfect date, the perfect meal?
Yeah, your sister.
Yes,
Your
that's
sister.
right. Make sure you mention that to her. That's good husbanding right there. There's a lot of perfect moments in life, the perfect sunset, the perfect sunrise, the perfect day at the beach. All right, I want to have the perfect football play. I'm looking for the perfect football game. I want the perfect football pass, the perfect football tackle. We're chasing all those things. So, and I want our guys to have that shared vision for all those moments of perfection that are going to make us the team that we need to be.
I love it. I really do. This is so good, Coach. Over the years, okay, obviously Jim with LA, now Jim with New York, and all the other places that they have coached. I know you are. You're the sounding board. You're one of the main sounding boards for not only who the coach is, but for what the person is that they're trying to hire. Especially if you have a relationship with him, because you did it for so many years. What are the common denominators that you see, okay, that fit John Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh? If a coach or a staff member is going to have success with them, what do they have to have?
When we here, we came here in 1973 to the University of Michigan. We were here for 7 years with Bo Schembechler. 7 years, we had pretty much the same staff. We had 9 full-time coaches. We had Bo, a couple graduate assistants. That was it. We were in a room. And we had the greatest camaraderie that you could possibly imagine. I mean, we would argue, we would fight, we would discuss technique, we would hug each other, we would at each other, and out of that room would come good things. And I was with Jerry Hanlon here about 3 or 4 years ago. I went through coaching for 19 years as a head coach. I tried to capture what we had here at the University of Michigan, and I don't believe I ever was able to do it like we had it here. And I asked Jerry Hanlon, what was it about this staff that brought us together like that for that great 7 years and our accomplishments here and the way we were get along? And he looked at me as if he were trying to find the answer to it. And here's what he said. Every single day that I came into the office, as I drove to work across the railroad tracks, parked my car, got out of my car, came to the meeting room, walked into that room with the 10 coaches that we had there and the graduate assistants and Bo Schembechler sitting around the table, I would say to myself, today, hopefully, I'm going to be able to bring something to this staff. I'm going to contribute something to this staff that's going to make us better. My goal wasn't my next job. My goal wasn't how much money I was going to make or what my title was. Can I bring to this staff something that's going to make us better? And when he said that, I had that same feeling. To bring a group of coaches like that from all different parts of the country, all different philosophies about football, different ideas about different techniques about football, and you could come into that room wanting to make this group better is what I think you try to find in a football coach and a football staff.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're going to talk about that because here's something where they could probably say this is a pretty good nutshell of John being a guy that made everybody better during the day. And Michelle gave me this before we started it, and I want to take this in from not only from Mike McDonald, but to the way you train coaches, John, because it's not like it's a secret. You and Jim have joined forces together on young coaches or other coaches. You've built coaches, okay? you're at a high level when it comes to accountability and demands and training and care for people growing. But this was from Mike McDonald at Media Night at the Super Bowl. Okay, I don't think it's possible to overstate his influence on me, Mike McDonald said. I love John Harbaugh. He's one of my biggest mentors. He was willing to take chances on me when other people weren't, and invested in me throughout my career. He had a vision for me in my career that I probably didn't have for myself. All the principles that are part of his program that he's about as a person resonated with me. Those are a lot of the foundational principles that we brought to Seattle. He's also a great friend, got a great family, and I can't say how much I love him. That's pretty strong, right? That's pretty strong for a younger coach that's going to play for a Super Bowl. What's that mean to you when you hear stuff like that?
Yeah, it means everything. I mean, I'm very proud of Mike, and very proud of Jay Harbaugh there too, and he was also with us on the staff, and he and Mike got to be really close friends. They're both about the same age, and kind of coming up together. And we had a lot of young guys like that. Chris Horton's on our staff now, and many other coaches that we brought in and just tried, just to become amazing coaches. And that, I don't think it was really. I can't really say, Tom, that my goal was to, develop coaches, so to speak. It was just to win football games and have the best football practice we could have, and all the coaches were a part of that. Like Dad said, every single coach. I bet Bo was looking around that table and looking at every guy, thinking to himself, what's this guy going to bring to the table today that's going to make us better, and expecting his best. And that's really what you do. And then any way that you can kind of meet everybody where they're at, coach-wise, player-wise, and meet them where they're at so that they can contribute, and and you can get their best. You want the best from people, and I always just want the best out of people. And Mike was one of those guys. I mean, he was always really smart. He was always really curious. He always had a bunch of ideas. And so that was one thing. It's like always listen to an idea. Like when you're in a leadership role, it's like, man, I want to hear ideas. And I don't want my default to be no, that's not a good idea. No, we're not going to do that. Your default should be either let me hear you out at least, or yes, I want to do that if we can, because the more ideas you listen to, the more ideas you get, and the more ideas you get, the more good actionable ideas that you're going to be able to use, and that's how you get better. So we had so many smart people have come through. Mike, none smarter than Mike McDonald. I mean, this guy's been special. But when we first brought him back from Michigan, there was a lot of people like, what are you doing? This young guy, he's not ready for this. He's not prepared for this. And then even the first 5 games, it was challenging.
Sure.
But man, I mean, I saw him working
The Giants game, when you went into New York that first year.
That's right.
I was at the game. I mean, absolutely. And to watch Mike's growth from that game, and obviously he'd already done well at Michigan, but watch Mike's growth from that game through the season to the next year to becoming a head coach, and 2 years in being a Super Bowl coach is incredible. And you deserve a lot of credit for that. And obviously it's great, because I want to lead this to the next part. Mike McDonald is comfortable enough with himself to give his mentors credit. And Mike McDonald is comfortable enough with himself to know that he didn't have all the answers. Here's a big picture question, and this is a great conversation. There's so many coaches coming up, so many coaches in it. I see it all the time in basketball, that they're getting into it not for the wrong reasons, but with the wrong mindset. And they want titles. They want responsibilities. They want accolades. They want to be able to do what they want to do without being held accountable, without being coached. The old coach the coaches got skipped with a lot of people. It just did. And this is lessons from the sidelines, but it's also lessons for people coming up. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this. What would you recommend, okay, based on your own experience, and Coach will ask you the same thing, on your own experiences, somebody young that wants to be a coach, that's growing into coaching, what are the best qualities that they can have? You've expressed it as from what John Harbaugh looks at, but what qualities should they have no matter what if they're going to have some success in this business, and not be somebody that's just in because they had a relationship, or because they knew somebody, or because they got lucky?
Well, I must start with the idea, and it comes from Proverbs, of guard your heart for through that come the blessings of life. It's like you got to ask yourself why you're in the business. And if you're in the business for any other reason other than teaching and helping grow other people, other than being a servant and pushing people up from the bottom, if your goal isn't, if you're a teacher and you're not about your students, then you're in the wrong business. If you're a coach and you're not about your players and your fellow coaches, then you are in the wrong business. Teaching and coaching is a servant-based business for sure. So if that's not your mindset, you're not going to be successful. You're going to get found out. And one of the great things about Jim that I love, and I think we both got this from our dad, it's like a competition with Jim in terms of who can give more credit to other people. Like I swear, it's like, well, you can't out compliment me. I'm going to out compliment you better than you can out compliment me. I'm going to give more compliments. It's like, isn't it, Dad? It's a fight, and I admire that so much. I mean, you can't build people up enough. And if you do that, then they live into that expectation that you set for them. Because Mike said in there, he had a vision for my career that I didn't have for myself, and I just think that speaks to his humility, his heart, where his heart was at. He checked his own heart, he guarded his own heart as he went, and he started to see in himself some things that maybe he only kind of hoped for. Oh yeah, you know what, Mike? They're actually in there. You're actually that good. You actually can become that good. It's there, and look at him now. So. To me, it's like, yeah, that's it starts with your heart, and what your reasons are for doing it.
Coach, you got 11 grandchildren. Obviously, Joni and are 3, and John has Allison. Jim has 7. All right, Jay Harbaugh, special teams coach of the Seattle Seahawks. Riley Crean, head video director and player development and things of that nature with the Dallas Mavericks. Best advice for not only those two, but for any young person, whether they're in your family or not, on what it takes to be a great coach?
I think John hit it right on the head. And Dwight Perry, when I was coaching at Bowling Green, playing for Dwight and then coaching when he was the athletics director, he talked about coaching and teaching as being synonymous terms. In order to be a good coach, you had to be a teacher. In order to be a teacher, you have a chance to be a good coach. And then as Jackie and I started our family and our family grew, we added parenting to that. Parenting fits into that same thing. Coaching, teaching, and parenting. And I always looked at it as if we had 2 teams that Jackie and I were responsible for. The first team that we were responsible for was the team at home. That team of our 3 children, and then on to our grandchildren, and then our great-grandchildren. That is our number one team. When it comes to the end and we're going to be accountable, that's what we need to be accountable for, that team that we put together. And then when you choose to be a teacher, whether it's a biology teacher or a physical education teacher or a coach or anything like that, then you have another team that you're responsible for. And the same qualities and same things you look for in putting that first team together, you have to be focused on putting together for that second team. It's not quite what you're going to be accountable for at the end, but it is what you're responsible for as you go through life, to share with those parents of the youngsters that you're coaching. And parenting, coaching, and teaching, and we've tried to stay true to that. A quick story, if I might. There was a time at the University of Michigan John was about 11 years old, Jim was about 9 years old, and came home from work about 10:30 at night. It had been a bad day for me, a bad day of coaching. Things weren't going well for me. Came in, kind of slammed the door, and I looked, and Jackie was sitting on the couch crying, just crying like a baby. And I came over, I said, well, tell me what happened. Kind of in a snarky way. Tell me what happened. Well, you won't believe what happened today. And she started to go through some things that she had experienced during the day, and I lost it. I said, what do you want me to do? You want me to go up the stairs there, grab them both, move them around a little bit? What do you want me? No, that's not what I want. Just listen to me. Just listen to me. So we went on, and then about 5-10 minutes later, it came to me. I said, Jackie, you know what? We are coaching 2 teams. This team at home and this team that I'm working for here at the University of Michigan. Here's what I want. You will be the head coach of this team. I will be your loyal assistant, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, position coach, whatever I can do as an assistant to make this team successful. You're the head coach. That'll allow me to go and do the work that I need to do, being your loyal number one assistant. And it worked out pretty damn well, if I might, if I might add that to this story.
It sure did. I can say on behalf of Joni and our kids, I think I can speak for John and Ingrid with Allison, and certainly Jim and Sarah, and the 7 children that they have, that we have had the best example of how to never put anything ahead of our own personal family. No matter the success John has had, the success Jim has had, what we've done, it has always been about that home team never ever being neglected. And the more you can include them, the better, right? Allison on the sidelines in the Ravens games, and now she may not wear the hooded sweatshirt. And well, she might continue to wear the hooded sweatshirt on the sidelines, but there's nothing like it. And I think, and that's how I had another question, but we're going to tie it up like this because that is so unbelievable. That's why it was great that we were able to do this. So many ways we could end this, John, but I want to end it this way. The advice for coaches, and there's a ton of it on this already, but let's just wrap it up. The advice for coaches that are parents, that maybe their family's at home, maybe they're a split family, but no matter what, they have people that are depending on them every day that are outside of their business, outside of their team, outside of their school, whatever it is. If you had to give one lasting piece of advice to those people on how to keep their family included, because you are a living, breathing example, as is Jim, that you can be at the top of your profession and never neglect your family, what would you say?
Well, I would say it's 100% commitment to the 2 things that are important: your family and your job. And if you're 100% committed, then you're going to give it everything you can. It doesn't matter what percentage of time, so much, or what percentage of, sometimes you live close, sometimes you live far. But if that's what you're thinking about, I know when I'm driving in, I'm thinking about work, I'm thinking about the secondary, I'm thinking about the offensive line, I'm thinking about the draft, I'm thinking about all these things, the players all the time, and I'm thinking about Allison, I'm thinking about Ingrid, I'm thinking about Allison's lacrosse coach who's ticking me off, I'm thinking about her classes, her law school, her internship, whatever. That's what I'm thinking about, man. I'm thinking about my extended family. I'm thinking about Jim or my mom and dad. That's really what I'm thinking about. I'm not really thinking too much about my golf game, and it shows. It's proven. I'm not thinking about a lot of things. Maybe Ingrid does the bills for me, Dad. That's really appreciated. But I just think it's what you care about. If you better care about your family, and you better care about your career, because why? Because your career impacts your family very much, and it impacts your joy too. So that's what I always say. What's the work-life balance? It's 100% committed to the things that really matter, okay? And to me, those 2 things.
Absolutely. And I hope people that are listening to this and the word spreads, that is exactly what it is. And you can rationalize it. You can fantasize it's differently. You can convince yourself it's differently, but it's not. And God didn't put us on this earth to just take care of ourselves or to take care of a couple people. He brought us on this earth to make sure everybody that's entrusted in our care, starting with our family, no matter what our family life is like, and no matter what our family system is like, that we put it first. And that's what this show should be all about. The nuts and bolts, no water carrying, no filtering, straight truth. And I really, really appreciate the opportunity to do it with you guys. I appreciate everything. And John, it's been great to have you on here. Coach, it's been absolutely great to have you on here. And I think people are going to get a lot from this. So on behalf of the Harbaugh Coaching Academy, this is Lessons from the Sidelines. I'm the very, very fortunate brother-in-law and son-in-law of these 2 guys, and it's just absolutely great to be with them. Thank you. Enjoy it. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Tom. You're really good at this, Tom. You do a great job.
Appreciate it.